What we're going to do is we're going to spawn a substrate bag for you today. And I've got a bag of hardwood substrate here. This is actually 100% fuel pellets, and I did this with a water boiling pasteurization method. Done a few days ago, about 4 days ago. It's been in the fridge ever since then. I took it out, warmed it up, got all the excess moisture mixed back in. Got a jar of chestnuts here, and this is the basic strain from Millennia. This is pretty much 100% colonized. A couple little bare spots. I'm not going to wait another day for this. It's not a big deal. I've got a sterilant here. I'm using something called a BAC, benzalkonium chloride, and mixed with a little bit of alcohol. Basically, it's this stuff. It's the same damn thing. This is a generic Lysol. It's the same thing. Those are the active ingredients in Lysol, and it's a really old sterilant, and it works really, really well, especially in combination with alcohol. And of course, I have a little bit of isopropyl here in a spray bottle, some of my pads. So I'll show you, I'm using one of these temporary closures. This is a piece of plastic combing, and it's got a clear nylon tube in it. Now these are normally sold by Unicorn, and a bunch of the supply houses carry these things. They've been sold out of late, but you can still get them from Unicorn. Now this is a 14A bag, which means it's the 8x5 bag, and it's got the A-type filter, or yeah, it's got the A-type filter, which is a 0.5 micron filter, and that's generally what I'm going to use with a lot of the the slower cultivated species. And if you don't have those, it's okay, because people ask me what they use, and if you don't have an impulse sealer, use one of these. It's a zip tie. Get a pack of these, dirt cheap, at places like Home Depot and that, and these things work great. And I always keep some of these around. I use these for some of the bags that I want to keep a lot of air in, because it helps stand the bag up. These clamps are a little heavy, but anyway, first thing we got to do is break up the spawn jar, and I'm going to show you a little trick. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that's nice and tight, and then I got this. And if people don't recognize this, what this is a little wheelbarrow tire, and cost me about $5, and it's a kind with air in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see if I can get this in, is bang my jar, and I always start at the top. And if you notice, the spawn starts breaking up at the top, and you notice it's breaking up like that. Then I'll flip my jar around and bang it the other way. And we're not trying to get this so mixed up that it's completely homogeneous grain again. We're just trying to break up those big chunks so it'll get out of the jar easily and not have to fight it, because we want to move quickly, especially if you're working in an SAB. So that's pretty good right there. I don't want to be too rough with it. So anyway, as I said, I'm going to be doing this in a flow hood. So we'll be back, and I'll show you that after I set up the flow hood. Alright then, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and spray down my bag. And I'm real careful to get up around where the seal is and up in these pleats. And generally you just want to get a little bit of the sterilant on the bag. Let it sit for a minute or two so that stuff works. And we're going to do the same thing with the jar. And just get a little sterilant on there. And this stuff works pretty fast. It's not like bleach where you have to sit for 10 minutes or something. This stuff actually works pretty fast. Alright folks, we'll readjust the camera here a little bit. You get a better picture. And I apologize, I have a really cheap, cheesy tripod that I'm working with. Okay. So of course I've got some of this isopropyl here. Now, a lot of people will tell you it's not necessary, but personally, I always glove up. Whenever I'm working with open jar, open bag, no matter what it is, I don't care if it's I'm working with spawn, if I'm working with agar or anything like that, working with open jars of LC, I glove up every time. It's just a good habit to get into. It's a bad habit to not glove up, and you'll wonder why all of a sudden some bags just contaminated right and left, and it probably could have got some dirt in there, or some skin flakes or something like that. I hate these medium gloves. They're so hard for me to get on, but they're free through my work, so I shouldn't complain. They're $20-something a box right now. So I'm gloved up, and of course, all the way up to my elbows and past, really soaked down in the alcohol, right? And I really want to get this in here good. And then make sure that my is loose. I've got some bugs flying out here. And then I'm going to take my alcohol pad and I'm going to clean the rim after I've removed it before I get it anywhere near my bag. And to see why I did that, there you go. I mean, that probably wouldn't get into the bag, but why take chances? Okay, and before I do anything else, I gotta take care of something else. An insect issue. It's termite season around here. Cleanup. And you see what I did was now I put a little alcohol on here. And if I'm working with this, I pull away from myself. You see this little spot, you might see it up here. This is where I pulled away and actually took one of these things and jammed it in my filter, and I had to do the little RTV paper clip repair kind of thing. So I got my bag open, and I'm just going to get that open enough, get some air in there. You notice I'm not sticking my hands down in there. I'm opening it just enough, and I'm using the plates so I can get the spawn in there. And without touching the spawn jar to the side of the bag, I'm just going to dump it in. And then immediately reseal it. Now, if you don't have these clamps, you can, of course, use that zip tie. And that zip tie works really, really well. And what I do is I'll fold the bag over, the corners in, to form a triangle, fold that over, fold it over again, twist it up, and put the zip tie around it, cinch it up tight, and those things really lock the top of those bags up, and you won't have an issue. Now, the next step is mixing, and this is one of the things that people get wrong all the time. And they wonder why there's spawn and everything didn't get mixed in right, why their stuff is colonizing just on top. That's because they didn't mix it up. So notice what I'm doing is I'm giving a little massage. I lay down the side with that stuff spread out. I'm gently massaging it to break up any bigger pieces of that spot, anything that's still sticking together. And that wasn't too bad. That broke up right away. Chestnut isn't too bad. Some of these oysters and a few other things, boy, I tell you what, try a milky mushroom. Those things set like concrete, and you really have to mix it. So what I'm doing is I'm really mixing it like this, and then I'm just going to rock it, and rock it, and rock it, and take it and shake it in a couple different directions. And I'll keep doing this, and keep doing this for several minutes. And when it's all done, I'll show you how I'm going to seal this with an impulse sealer. Okay, so this got thoroughly mixed up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Now, some people use like a form or something like that. I want it all boys get all this loose stuff kind of semi-packed down. I don't want it too tight at all. I want this to be, you know, you can see it. Let me move that a little bit for you. And you notice I'm moving some air in there right now. And again, I've sprayed everything down again, including my impulse sealer. So I'm going to pull that temporary seal off, give it a little shake like that, and I make sure all that loose sawdust from the wood pellets are out. And then I'm going to hold it down like this and feed it into my impulse sealer. Now, remember, there's a lot of sterilant stuff like that in this, but it's not going to want to seal too well. We're going to have to seal this a couple of times. So my first seal, and then I seal again right at the same spot. And I put some pressure on these things. Now this thing is acting up again. We got turned down again. And then what I do is I'll go up about another half an inch, and I'll do another seal. And I'll do that because sometimes first seal will fail. When you check that, and if you need to, do it again. And that actually should have done it. And I'll check that against the light. This bag's pretty wet, so it doesn't really want to seal. And the first bag you do, sometimes, you gotta do this 4 or 5 times before you get a good seal. This is not the best impulse sealer. This is a very inexpensive one. It's good for my purposes. It works. And I think that may have gotten it, but I'll do another one just in case. If I'm doing a bunch of bags, this actually goes a lot faster because this thing warms up and it seals much better. That seems to have done it, but I'm kind of paranoid and I've got a lot of OCD going for me, so I'll do it one more time. And if you do this too much in one spot, sometimes it'll melt the bag. So that's a sealed up bag. Now, there's a question about how much air you should leave in a bag. With these 5 micron filters, 0.5 micron filters, it's best to leave some so it acts like a plenum. And you can draw air back into these things by pulling on these a little bit. But you don't want to leave too much air with most stuff. Chestnuts, you don't want too much air in the bag. That's another way. This is how you pull air into a bag, by the way, folks. Just lift it up, let the weight of the bag pull air in through that. And you want some space behind that filter. Alright? And I keep a little in there. If you're using the 3B bags, and why Unicorn changed it from a 14A to a 3B, I have no idea why it isn't a 14B. You have to ask the really nice folks over there at Unicorn, and they don't talk much. The 3B has a 5 micron filter, and if you're doing stuff that's very fast colonizing, like say an oyster or something like that, feel free to use the 3Bs. And with the 3Bs, you can actually leave a lot of air in and tape it down like that. I like to leave it up. I played around with these, trying to use these 14As, and fold them over. And I had problems with uneven colonization and stuff like that. So, if you belong to the Facebook group, you might have seen me here in the past saying, air all out of the bag. Well, attitudes change. So, the last thing I'm going to do here is mark up the bag. And I know a lot of people use labels and stuff. I use these Sharpies. I use these at work all day long, and it's just what I use. Sometimes they'll smear off, but usually they're fine. If they do, right on the patch. It's not going to hurt the patch. This stuff is actually a Tyvek-like material, and I'll put the date. And that's ready to go into my colonization. Now there's another chestnut bag in there that went about 4 days ago, and it's already colonizing. So I already know that the spawn run is good. I just wanted to be able to do this video for you guys real quick, show you what's going on. Sorry about the cramped space and everything and the little rough around the edges. See you next time, and be sure and get all your cultures from the Mycelium Emporium. Bye.